Astro Athens here, and I just arrived to, as you can see, Vandenberg Air Force Base. I'm super excited. We got an awesome crowd behind us, and we're gonna start our tours in just a little bit, so stay tuned. I can't wait for you guys to see everyone that I'll be meeting here. I'm excited for the launch. Guys, so you can see I just arrived to an amazing model of InSight. This is super cool. You can see here we have the twin solar arrays that we got right on top. How cool is this? And that is the robotic arm right there. So that's what's going to be deploying all of the hardware once it actually lands. This is so cool, guys. This is amazing. And this is a model of the Atlas V rocket that's going to be launching. I am super excited. And it is super exciting here. I am with the whole media crew. Look at everyone here. This is so cool.
Your hand over this.
Okay, I have to put it over.
And then we'll transfer it like this.
And then, I should have done my other hand.
Oh, you want the other hand?
Wait, I think I can do it. I got it.
Okay, you can do it with the other hand.
Okay, that's so cool. It feels, yeah, it feels kind of like sharpish. Wow, so that is so cool. This is called aerogel, and this is used as the insulation of the craft. That is so cool. Like, look at this. Are you able to see it? Is it in focus?
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, by the way, so much for recording this.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is so cool. Wow. That's so cool. And apparently also, I heard that it diffracts light. So, I'm going to put that on really quick. So she was saying that what she means by it diffracts light is similar with our sun through the atmosphere, where as you start to move like this, it starts to look like a sunset, because it actually is going to change colors, it's going to be more yellow. And yeah, you can see it on my thumb is actually getting yellow. So that's super cool. Oh, and there's actually a piece right there on my fingertips too. Oh, this is so cool. Awesome. Yeah, a little piece broke off, it looks like. Right there. So would you like to do it? Okay, so you go on top, and then I just flip it over. Yep. And I think the other piece went there.
So it opens and closes the switch for the electric heater, basically.
What is the temperature at?
It depends on what you buy it at. So sometimes it's usually between like 25 and 20 C.
26 degrees Celsius. Okay, yes. I was thinking Celsius, I figured probably. I was like, no one uses Fahrenheit except like certain people, I guess, anymore.
I worked on Orion and we used Fahrenheit. Yes. So it was weird getting adjusted.
Is this an international collaboration though? Is InSight also with other countries?
Yes. So,
that's why.
The primary instruments on InSight, the seismometer.
The seismometer,
The seismometer was provided by the French Space Agency.
So cool.
And the heat probe, it's a German Space Agency provided instrument.
Wow. Oh right, we were speaking about that earlier. That's amazing.
Different colors on the tanks there, on the propulsion tanks. It's all the shiny stuff that you see primarily.
Oh.
Those are kind of blankets that protect the tanks.
On the shiny. Oh yeah, on the shiny stuff on there. Okay, like the gold shiny.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's
these
just
are
a different layer that we put outside of them.
Okay, what makes it different?
So it depends on what you need for how much solar energy it can absorb or eject.
Okay.
So these shiny ones basically absorb a little bit more solar energy than the yellow ones.
Okay.
So that's basically how we control it. Depends on the surface that we're looking at.
Yeah, then the yellow ones also.
Yeah, so they all have different properties to absorb energy from the sun and reject amount of energy from the spacecraft.
Very cool.
So literally, that's why you see all sorts of different color surfaces on the spacecraft.
Okay. When it's coming down on its orbit and all. Yeah.
That's so cool. And then this detects the temperature, which connects to this, which is the thermal heater.
Yes.
That is so cool. It's like the hip bone connects to the leg bone. Okay, except
So
it's
an
the thermal
interconnected
sensor.
system.
Yeah. What are these little poles?
So these sort of represent what we call heat pipes. So they have the ability, these are not exactly correct, but they have the ability of transferring heat. So you see them, they're copper.
Yeah,
So they conduct
copper.
pretty well.
Well, yeah. Wow.
So you can move heat around back and forth.
Okay, so is that what would conduct the heat to turn this one on? Because you said this needs to have an electric current
So
to conduct the heat.
we plug this into the electrical hardware of the spacecraft, so the power unit.
Okay.
So these are looking at temperatures. These are more passive, so we don't. They react themselves
On their
based on
own.
the temperature that they're seeing on the surface of the planet.
Is it because they're copper?
Yeah, and you usually have a little bit of fluid running inside.
Okay.
That moves the energy around.
That's so cool. Well, thank you.
Curiosity rover.
Do you see, I guess you don't see InSight, obviously, yeah, because it's augmented reality, right? So that obviously InSight hasn't landed. So,
Not landed yet. Let's see.
this is so
I'm
cool.
just looking at a hill right now. It's
A hill.
Wild. I will say it's kind of weird because it's just like one like small screen, but it's still like you can like
project
look
over the
down.
summer at JPL. I was
Oh, really?
on the project.
What? Would you like to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. So this is called OnSite Not In Sight, but it's on-site because you get to view onto Mars. And basically the idea for the project is for scientists to be able to have like a one-on-one full-scale experience of what Mars is like.
Wow. Which makes a lot of sense. It's
Yeah,
purposeful
and you
too.
can go and walk up to like a rock if you're seeing it, and you're like, oh, that's a cool rock. We should have the rover do some science on that rock, or maybe we want to drill a sample or something.
Wow.
And then the part that I was working on was taking all of the imagery and making it so it's automated, and the system can take imagery every single day as Curiosity downlinks more data, and then automatically generate new models so that the scientists can just have a live update. So they're walking in and it says, do you want to update the imagery?
Wow.
And you say, yes.
They're like, yes, of course.
And the other cool thing is that you can walk around with other people and other scientists in the room.
Wow. So you guys see each other like.
Exactly, and you can see an avatar of the other person.
An avatar, right.
Floating in their in the space and like where you're looking, and then it's more of a collaborative experience.
That's not teleporting.
So point your vision exactly towards somewhere you want to teleport to.
Okay.
And then have the little yellow circle on the ground. So you see that, right?
I see the yellow circle here on the ground.
So now just point your together.
We're on Mars together, but we're trying to teleport together. Hello.
Teleporting together.
But it's not working. Why is it not working? I don't think I'm doing it right. I'm sorry. Okay.
Practice your just put together like that.
Oh, okay, wait. Something just happened and now it disappeared again. Oh, there we go.
And
Okay,
then
now
there's a
it.
navigate to option. You want to click again on that.
So.
Moving your eyes towards, moving your head towards navigate to.
That is really weird. Okay, so what I ended up seeing was I did this, and then I saw like a circle on the ground, like an Etch-a-Sketch, and it all like rose up. Yeah, it was weird. Like I wish you could see what I'm seeing. I don't.
We can trade headsets.
Yeah, let's trade headsets. Wait, this Curiosity is still there, so. Okay, wait.
Unfortunately, I am pretty much entirely underground right now.
You're underground?
You're underground?
If I stood on a table, then I'd not be underground.
I don't think I have the magic touch.
And it actually landed on Mars 10 years ago this month, May on Memorial Day. InSight is based off of the Phoenix Mars lander. So a lot of the same design from a structural standpoint. The flex arrays are the same. It's just the instruments are completely different because it's a completely different mission. So it's flight proof. We've done it before, so it's a really cool mission in that sense, the Phoenix.
I heard that once it lands, the engineers from NASA are going to be peering through the cameras first to like check and make sure everything, like the surroundings are cool, and then they're going to deploy the robotic arm and use a 5-finger grapple, is it, to get all the hardware out? What is that? What does that look like? I'm so.
There's a great model over there showing that the instruments sit up on the deck.
Yeah.
And so now you need to get the two instruments, both of which one is listening to the ground,
Right.
trying to understand the interior, the other one which is going to hammer down into the ground and thermocouple. So you got to get them off of the deck, down on the ground, so they use a robotic arm.
And that's
so
the
yeah, there's
robotic
two cameras
arm.
on the spacecraft. One's on the robotic arm, which you actually kind of want to look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then one is just below the deck, is basically looking at where the instruments are going to be set down. So you don't want to set the instruments down blindly and put them on a little, 2-inch rock and it's tilted up.
Yeah.
You want to completely survey it as close as you can, use that that camera, and then they can decide exactly where they're going to set each of the two instruments. But they got a pretty wide area that the robotic arm can sit around. So
Oh, sweet.
Is it automated?
very much so.
Like, are the movements automated, or are they controlled?
So the movements are specifically driven by the engineers that design. So kind of they give you the exact code. So, but what it is it's autonomous, not automated. So where's some wood, right? Let's start knocking on some wood. Reality is we, the world, threw a lot of stuff at Mars in the 60s and 70s and they weren't successful, and we've gotten better over the years. But just recently, the Europeans had a lander failure. So landing on Mars is really hard. There's only been 7 successful NASA missions that have landed on the surface of Mars, and this will be number 8. Out of the 20 missions that have gone to Mars, that NASA sent to Mars, this will be number 21. Lockheed Martin's been on all 20 of those. We've actually built 11 of those spacecraft. I don't know if you would imagine that Lockheed Martin built 11 of the Mars spacecraft out of the 20. This is 11. But most of those have either been flyby or orbiters, and only 7 of them have been landers, and so this will be number 8. One of them was a failure kind of in the late 90s. So landing on Mars is really hard.
Where do they usually fail?
There's only been one land for NASA, Lockheed Martin. There's only been one lander failure, and it was a Mars polar lander in the late 90s. And it was the engine probably cut off early. We don't know exactly what the specific anomaly was. Engine probably cut off early because of the late. Some of the orbiters have had challenges getting into the orbiters, Observer and Climate Orbiter, and then in the early days, some of the Mariners had some issues getting there. But recently, we've been really successful all through the 2000s. Everything that's gone has been very successful. Keep knocking on wood.
Yeah.
This is hard stuff.
Yeah. And it's like a 5-meter probe, right?
So
is that
the temperature probe that's going to go
the
down
temperature
into the
probe?
surface.
Yeah.
So the German-built HP3 and then there's a great model over there. Is a self-hammering probe that's ultimately going to go down into the earth, into the ground, not the earth. Anywhere between 10 to 15 feet, so about 5 meters, and so ultimately it could hit a rock. We want it to go a little bit further, but that's really a cool probe. That's the deepest hole I've ever dug into Mars, to use the word kind of loosely dug, but great spacecraft. So let's go back. 7 minutes of terror is it's one thing to kind of in the course of going from easiest to hardest. Easiest thing to do is to fly by a planet. Send a spacecraft and you fly by the planet as you take pictures. That's really cool. New Horizons just did that, right? That was cool. But that's kind of the easiest way to go explore a planet. The next hardest thing to do with better results is to go into orbit around a planet. We started doing that with the Mariners. JPL did with Mariner 9 and then Mariner 8. They started orbiting the planet. And NASA has 3 orbiters at Mars right now. Mars Odyssey, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, and Maven. And all 3 of those are orbiting Mars. They're looking at the surface or they're studying the atmosphere. And then the hardest thing is to actually get on the surface of a body, of a planet or a comet or an asteroid, and that's really hard. But boy, once you're on, now you're studying things right there, what's called in situ, in the environment, studying it up close. So again, a lot of orbiters, very few landers. But the difference between landers and rover, anyone have an idea? You kind of use the term interchangeably, but they're not.
Yes.
Difference between a lander and a rover.
Landers are stationary and rovers move around.
Yeah, landers are coffee tables. Rovers are scooters.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We got a couple more options if you're looking for things. We also have some parts of InSight that you can touch over here, such as the parachute and the heat shielding.
It's a really cool material.
We also have the program manager for InSight here. Michael to answer any questions out there. So, thank you.
So each mission is ultimately, you determine kind of the objective of the science of the mission. You kind of design your spacecraft for that. So if you want to go around and explore and go up to Mount Sharp and dig and shoot lasers, you build a rover. If you want to sit and you dig down, you want to touch water ice, and you want to evaluate the water for the first time on Mars, you build a lander. That's called Phoenix. Or if you want to put a seismometer, you don't want to drive around and drag that seismometer with you. You want to land, and that's kind of like what the Vikings did in '76. Land, be very stationary, and just do all of their studies right there. So landers or rovers, big difference. But getting them to the surface is similar in many ways. The early systems, the very first ones, Vikings in 1976 with Lockheed Martin, it was called Martin Marietta at the time, Martin Marietta. We built those out in Colorado, Littleton, Colorado. And Phoenix and InSight are direct descendants of the Vikings. They're kind of like the Vikings or the grandparents, and they're these propulsive landing spacecraft that use a retro engines as they land. First successful operating spacecraft to land on the surface of Mars. That's way back in the mid 70s. So 7 minutes of terror. It's landing on Mars.